Hi friends, today I want to take you along with me as I clean up my overgrown, messy flower garden, or I guess it hardly has flowers, my flower bed. So then my plants garden, plants bed. It's no small secret that I am not a big plant person. They usually die on me. I hate having lots of little plants around. More recently, I've discovered I do like having a few nice hanging plants, so I'm working on those, but I do have this flower garden in front of my house, and it has gotten kind of overgrown and messy. Here where I live in Costa Rica, we don't have winter and summer. We have dry season and rainy season. And in dry season, stuff hardly grows. Our garden, whatever, everything gets brown. Just the plants usually survive. We sometimes water them, but they hardly grow, and the weeds don't grow that much either. But a couple weeks ago, it started raining again, and well, I have been too busy to care for it properly. But now it's time I get back to doing something with it because it is getting pretty overgrown. So come along as I tear out and weed and pull out and try to give it a refreshing so that it can grow again. Well, I want to discuss things we can learn from flowers and plants around us. So yeah, I'm not a big plant person, a big flower person, but I have sometimes been taught lessons by flowers. God has taught me lessons by flowers and plants, and I want to share some today with you that you can learn. I like plants. They look nice, but I do not like to care for them. And I think it's probably harder because I have little children, and so potted plants wouldn't last very well. Potted plants in the ground, so that's why I stick to hanging plants and this one flower bed or plant bed that I try to keep up with. Not doing the best at it. Anyway, what can flowers teach us? I remember one of the first times I learned a lesson from a flower. God taught me. It was years ago when we lived in Canada, and I was walking way back in a lonely hidden field. And then I saw some cute little bell-shaped purplish flowers on the ground. And I just thought, what are they doing way back here now? I was probably the only human who would ever see them. What's their worth? No one's seeing them. They just bloom back here where no one sees them. And it was as though God taught me a lesson that day. He said, or it came to my mind, that they don't need to be where anyone else can see them. God created them to bloom. And that's what they're doing. They're just blooming where they're planted. They're just doing what God intended them to do. And that was a big lesson to me. I had to learn from that. And since then, several times when I've been in lonely places, I had to think back on that. Why does God have me here or other people even, where no one can see the hidden talents and gifts? But that's not the point. It's not the point that others need to see it. The point is to bloom where God has placed us, to bloom for His glory and for Him alone. And that is what I want to do. So, flowers have taught me about being humble. Just the fact that flowers exist as God created them to be as an act of praise to their Maker. They don't need anyone to see them, and that has been a hard lesson for me to learn, but I think I'm learning it. Our purpose in life is to live for God's glory, even if no one else sees us. Motherhood can also often be a lonely hidden job. But if God placed us here, and we are simply being faithful with His calling, we glorify Him. As much as we desire to be seen by others, what matters is if we are doing God's will. Plants and flowers also teach us to have a right perspective. I remember thinking that about the sunflowers, which I also rarely see out here. But in Canada years ago, the sunflower fields, all the flowers face the rising of the sun, face the east. Flowers don't look at themselves. They look at the sun, and so we should also be continually looking to the Son of God and not at ourselves. And the Son of God, just like the real sun, gets raised higher and higher in the sky above us, in our lives, in our hearts. He is the most important thing. Sunflowers don't do well in the shade. They don't do well with something between them and the sun. And it's the same with us. We don't do well if we don't have a clear conscience and nothing between us and God. When sin does come up, we should clear it up. Sunflowers also show us unity. All of them face the same direction. We should learn to not let other things distract us and altogether look to Jesus and to what He wants of us. Sunflowers also bear fruit, like sunflower seed to eat. When we keep our face towards the Son of God, and when we're warmed by His love, we will bear the fruits of the Spirit. Flowers also teach us to not worry. Matthew 6:28 and 29 says, in the NIV version, "Why do you worry about clothes? See how the flowers of the field grow. They do not labor or spin. Yet I tell you that even Solomon in all his splendor was dressed like one of these." That not even Solomon in all his splendor was dressed like one of these. So Jesus was telling us that God cares for the flowers and He will care for us. Flowers and plants also teach us who God is. Like Romans 1:12 says, again I'm using the NIV version here, "For since the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, His eternal power and divine nature, have been clearly seen, made understood from what has been made, so that people are with excuse. What He has made, like the flowers, the plants around us, the world around us, teaches us who God is. They show us that there is a God who is creative, majestic, and all-powerful. We are without excuse before Him, because we have seen the glory of God on display." Flowers also teach us that there is beauty in hard places. There are roses among the thorns. So even in the hard places of your life, in the thorns, we can find roses, we can find blessings. Thorns even protect roses. And sometimes we don't know what the hard things in our life are keeping us from. But maybe they are keeping us, protecting us from something that would destroy our lives. Sometimes, in mentioning that there's beauty in hard places, sometimes we see flowers bravely growing up through a crack in the cement or up on a steep cliff. And all that, they teach us a lesson of perseverance and of blooming where we're planted and doing our best right where God has us, no matter how hard it is. So I hope this is a little encouragement for you to look for the lessons God is trying to teach you in the world around you, in the flowers, in nature. Use flowers to teach your children, teach them to observe nature and to learn about being humble, about having a right perspective, about not worrying, about who God is, and about that there's beauty in hard places. So, I hope this has been a blessing to you and an encouragement to you. And if you like flowers, good for you. And I'll do my best to keep caring for my plants and hopefully get a few more flowering plants into my flower bed. But it does look a bit better now. Well, it looks kind of bare, but it will grow better now. And hopefully it can be something that can be beautiful so that I can take advantage of this time. And I'll try to care for my plants better from now on. Thank you for joining me, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And if you have any lessons that flowers have taught you, then please let me know in the comments. I'd be happy to hear some more from others where God has taught you something through nature and through flowers. Bye.